On my first solo cruise, I got the standard advice about bringing a book to dinner or joining a Facebook group, but that advice is worthless. It's not going to protect your money or your safety. Over the years, I've discovered 9 traps that cause a lot of solo cruisers to waste money, miss out on discounts that are specific to solo cruising, and put their safety and well-being at risk. Well, today I'm going to tell you how to avoid every single one of those traps. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, bringing you the cruise insider information you need to avoid mistakes, save money, and protect yourself so that you can have your best cruise ever. When I first started looking into solo cruising, I had made the wrong assumption that I was going to have to pay double. And that's because when you look up cruise prices, they're typically listed as per person for a double occupancy room. But that's not true. Most major cruise lines have a single supplement, which is an extra fee they add to the per person double occupancy rate. And picking the right cruise line can make a big difference. Solo cruising is a growing phenomenon, and more cruise lines are adding solo cabins, which are cabins designed just for one person. Norwegian is leading the way in this, and they have whole sections of their ship that are just solo cabins. Virgin also, for a long time, has offered solo cabins. But Royal Caribbean, Princess, they're all adding some of these on their newer ships. And there are 2 real big tricks that solo cruisers can use to save even more money on their bookings. One is to look for last-minute cruises. Now, if you're cruising solo, you should have some more flexibility because you're only relying on your schedule. So when you have some time coming up and you can take a cruise, look for some last minute deals, because what I have found, especially on these ships that offer these solo cabins, is on sailings when they don't sell out, they drop that price dramatically. And that's because once they put these solo cabins on these ships, they cannot offer them to couples. So if they don't have enough solo cruisers, those are the prices getting dropped. If you can travel solo outside of the summer or the major holiday periods, you might find some ships with lower occupancy and you don't even need to get in a solo cabin. They'll give you a regular cabin, even a balcony cabin, at the per person double occupancy rate plus maybe $100 or more. Look for these kinds of deals if you're willing to be flexible. And then don't forget about these solo discounts. While cruise lines make it a little more expensive on the solo cruiser when it comes to the base fare of the cruise, everything else you're only paying for one person. And that's a big savings people don't think about. So if you're the kind of person that would normally get the drink package, but you don't because you're cruising with a spouse or with a partner who doesn't drink as much, and so it's not worth it because when you're cruising with that person, you're forced to buy both people the package. Now you can just buy it for yourself and enjoy. And this pretty much goes with everything else. Think about it like this. If you're cruising with a partner, everything you buy is pretty much double. You go to specialty dining, you have to pay 2 fees. You go on an excursion, you have to pay for 2 people. You need the Wi-Fi, you have to pay for at least 2 devices. Well, if you're cruising solo, you're having the cost of all of those things. So take more advantage of some of them because it's going to leave you with a smaller bill in the end, and you're going to get the same kind of enjoyment. What do you think? Would cruising solo make you more likely to buy the drink package? Let me know in the comments below. People cruise solo for all different kinds of reasons. I usually cruise with my wife, but there's been times when she couldn't go and I went by myself. But I always had her back home, stayed in touch with her, and had somebody to be accountable for where I was and what I was doing. And that's very important, especially if you always cruise solo, because sometimes things do go wrong. And the best way to protect yourself is to have somebody back home who knows where you should be, where you're going, and that you check in with occasionally on a schedule. After all, if you're cruising solo, you're heading out into the middle of the ocean and into some foreign countries all by yourself. And somebody should know where you are and where you're supposed to be so that they can help you if something goes wrong, like this next thing. If you're getting off at ports of call by yourself, it's a fact of life, you're a better target for petty criminals like pickpockets, because they would much prefer to hit somebody who's off by themselves, standing by themselves, doesn't appear to have any backup or anybody else there, than a group of people. So if you're by yourself, you need to be even more cautious. Keep that money hidden, keep it in a belt underneath your clothing or in a hidden pocket on a backpack. Don't just leave it in an open bag or in your pockets. And to protect yourself, if you're going to do an excursion, do it with a reputable tour company. I've got some in my description that you can use or book with the cruise line. One of those ways is going to keep you safer, because if you're just out there exploring a foreign country on your own, especially if you're not familiar with it, something could happen. We all hope our cruises are going to go smoothly, and avoiding this next trap will go a long way to making sure that happens. I've talked to so many solo cruisers, and they're all different. Some of them want to be seated with a whole group of people in the main dining room. They like to talk. They want to get to know other people. They don't care if they're all couples or who they are. Other people just want to be with other solo cruisers or people who are there on their own because they feel that they have some more in common. And then there's always solo cruisers who just went on that cruise to get away from everybody, and they kind of want to be left alone. Whatever category you fall into, you can set up your main dining room that way, especially if you're on a cruise line like Norwegian or Virgin that caters to solo cruisers. They are aware of these situations, and if you ask for a solo table by yourself, they'll put you at a two-person table all by yourself. You can have that space if you want it. The maitre d's know which tables have solo cruisers and which don't. So if it matters to you, talk to them on that first night of the cruise. A friend of mine once took a solo cruise, and he said he was really looking forward to the solo meetups that didn't happen, because on a lot of these cruise ships, they do offer solo meetups, but I've looked at some of these and almost nobody shows up. If you want to meet other solo cruisers, and that's why you're going on a solo cruise, your best bet is to stick with a company like Norwegian, who has designed a whole infrastructure in their newer ships around solo cabins. That means that even to access the area where these solo cabins are, you have to use your specific key card. The general public on the cruise ship cannot even get into the area where the solo cabins are. And then inside the area with the solo cabins is a solo lounge where only solo cruisers will be. And they usually offer a free bar a couple of hours into the evening. So even if you didn't get the drink package, you can get some free drinks there. But in addition to those drinks, they will have water, juice, sometimes soda, it depends, but other foods and snacks in there throughout the day, especially at breakfast time. It makes the experience for solo cruisers a lot more like a community than other cruise ships, where there isn't anything like this, and they try to throw together meetups, but a lot of times one or two people show up and it's not much of anything. If you're cruising solo, a travel insurance policy might cost you between $120 and $150, and it is so worth it. That's another peace of mind to protect yourself in the event something happens. If you're interested, I've got links to 2 travel insurance companies that I personally use in my description. You can check them out, but find a reputable company to get a policy with. The last thing you want to do is have a medical emergency, end up in a hospital in some foreign country, and not have some easy insurance to hand over to them when you don't have somebody else advocating and trying to figure out what to do and how to handle that aspect. And then this next trap is not for the camera shy. But first, if you're interested in booking a cruise, we maintain a list of the best cruise deals you can book right now, including some deals for solo cruisers. If you're interested, just comment deals or click on the deals link in our description. On my last solo cruise, I was talking to another cruiser who was by himself, who said he bought the photo package. And I was thinking to myself, why? So I asked him, and he said, well, because I have nobody to take my picture. Well, That's not exactly true. And imagine paying $20, $30 per photo just to have a cruise ship photographer take your photo by yourself with their made up backgrounds. In my opinion, that's wasting money. Now, what do you think? If you don't agree with that, let me know in the comments below. All you have to do is find another cruiser. They're usually more than happy to take it, and they'll probably even ask you to reciprocate and take one of them or their family. People are very friendly when it comes to cruising and taking pictures. And since we all have these amazing cameras in our pockets these days, it's really not worth an extra $200, $300 for a photo package, especially if you're cruising solo. Now I'm going to get to a trap that could have you regretting that you ever went on a solo cruise in the first place. But first, if you would take a minute and subscribe to our channel, hit that like button. It helps us grow and we'll continue to bring you cruise insider information. The first solo cruise I ever went on was only a 3-day cruise. And I did that on purpose because I wasn't sure if I would like it. I'm the kind of person that's used to cruising with other people, so I didn't know how it would take. I really enjoyed it, and I would go on another one. But I highly recommend if this is your first solo cruise, you start with small steps because a lot of solo cruisers report feeling a little bit lonely after a few days, especially if you're not single and living alone. If you live with other people and you're thinking of going on a solo cruise, think about a short one and see how it feels. And then if you are single and you live by yourself, you know what you like, right? So if you like a lot of action and activity, consider a cruise that has more port stops or a 7-night cruise with 3 or 4 port stops. You don't want a long transatlantic repositioning type cruise that's going to have 7 or 8 sea days if you like a lot of action and activity. However, if you like to just be laid back, listen to the ocean, read a book, just kind of take it easy without much going on, then those transatlantic or repositioning cruises might actually be perfect for a solo cruiser, especially since there isn't as much commotion and action going all around you. They tend to be more laid back, and if you like that kind of environment for your vacation, you'll probably really enjoy it. The bottom line is the length and itinerary of the cruise you choose as a solo cruiser can impact your emotions and whether or not you really enjoy that cruise. So now that you won't fall into any of these solo cruising traps, there are some new changes that are causing some cruisers to get denied boarding on embarkation day. I'll tell you how to make sure that doesn't happen right here.